This is hard work. It is stressful, it is different, and it is difficult to go through it.
A decision for life.
Why is it so hard when they're desperate for families to adopt?
Adoption is not an unnatural relationship. It is exactly the same as a birth relationship.
And here we are, and yet there's so much red tape to cut through.
But there is no right way to come across.
Nobody said it would be easy.
The whole system, it must put so many people off.
Love is Not Enough, Tuesday at 10:05 on BBC One.
David Bowie, singer and actor. The talented artist's career is profiled in a double bill over on BBC Two now. The news here on BBC One. It's
Ministers on the defensive over Labour's slump in the opinion polls. As the party conference opens, Blair calls on Labour to keep its nerve. Milosevic votes amid growing fears that he's already rigged the result. And Denise Lewis beats the pain barrier to win Britain's 5th gold. Good evening. Pensions, petrol, the Dome and the polls have all thrown their shadow over the opening day of Labour's conference at Brighton. But it was a day on which the worried party faithful heard ministers take a softer line on the issues damaging Labour with the public. The Prime Minister made his priority the pensioners. Peter Mandelson said the government had appeared high-handed over the fuel crisis.
Mr Blair was obviously popular at one of the innumerable parties around conference tonight, but his aides think the fuel crisis has crystallised a public mood. They've known for a long time he's seen as arrogant and out of touch. Today's interview was designed to sound a humbler note. He took responsibility for the petrol revolt. It happened on my watch, he said.
Would you like to make fuel cheaper then?
Of course, we'd all like to do it. The question is whether you can do it responsibly and given your other priorities.
Getting it all off his chest, a clearly anxious Mr Blair conceded the Dome had been too ambitious.
If I had known then what I know now about governments trying to run a visitor attraction of this, or these types of visitor attraction, it would probably have been too ambitious a thing for a government to have tried to do. I mean, if you look, for example, at Euro Disney, it took several years before it settled down.
You're wearing well.
Perhaps a nervous moment as Mr Blair met an 82-year-old at a party tonight. Pensions are likely to be the big row of this conference. The unions want them put up in line with average pay. Mr Blair seemed to agree the 75p increase had looked a bit mean.
Although it was done absolutely according to the rules, pensioners perfectly naturally look at the 75p every week and don't take account of, you know, the winter allowance, which is now going up to £150, and all the other things that we are doing for pensioners. So I totally understand that, but, you know, it's a bit like with the rest of these issues. In the end, it will come to a choice between ourselves and the Conservatives.
It was left to the ever-popular Mo Mowlam in her farewell speech to actually say the word sorry. She's leaving Parliament and the Cabinet at the next election, and she was characteristically straightforward.
Can I say I'm sorry to those that are disappointed, but I hope above all that, like me, you'll fight tooth and nail to stand up for what we believe in: fairness, justice and equality.
Peter Mandelson was another minister on the We're So Sorry circuit, but in the current tense atmosphere, his apology is being interpreted as an attack on the Chancellor.
When people heard us then react or respond to this, I think people felt that on the issue, the meat of the issue, that we were a bit unsympathetic and a little high-handed, and I think that we got that wrong.
The government's woes may have a paradoxical effect here. The instinct of many delegates will be to rally round, except on pensions.
Some people are feeling very angry indeed about the last few weeks, and the anger is reflected in many different ways. It's one of stiffening the spine, as it were, to make that fight worthwhile and win the next election.
I think this is the opportunity for the government to prove they're going to come out fighting. They're going to re-engage the voters and start turning over the Tory lead in the polls.
Sorry may be the hardest word, but what's really difficult is changing your behaviour after an apology, and on pensions at least there's no sign that the government's going to budge. A senior Treasury advisor told me the policy is right, and he added, it's not going to change, it's just not going to happen. Mark Mardell, BBC News, Brighton.
The votes are being counted in the crucial Yugoslav elections. President Milosevic's supporters are claiming victory. and so are the opposition. There have been widespread allegations of ballot rigging, with independent observers describing the vote as a complete mess. Tonight, both sides are holding a series of rallies in Belgrade, where there's a heavy police presence.
There's little doubt who he's voting for. Slobodan Milosevic and his wife were among the first people to cast their ballots. He's hoping for another 4 years as president. She wants a seat in parliament. Most people in Serbia see these elections as a referendum on the past 10 years of Milosevic's rule. It's been 10 years of war and economic hardship, but still he's held on to power. Many in the West thought the bombing of Yugoslavia last year would finish Mr. Milosevic off. His troops were defeated in Kosovo, while NATO airstrikes destroyed factories and oil refineries. Many Serbs blamed Mr. Milosevic for this devastation, but they couldn't see any alternative to his leadership. Now they can, and his name is Vojislav Koštunica. The opposition candidate in these elections is hugely popular, despite his lack of charisma. For many ordinary people, he embodies their hopes for political change.
The government knows it's going to lose, because the people are no longer afraid. Now they are going to do what previously they could only dream about.
But the authorities are telling a different story. Officials have been counting votes from Serbs in Kosovo, where they say people voted almost unanimously for Mr. Milosevic. The opposition has been crying foul. People are starting to come into the centre of Belgrade to wait for the election results in the open air. Both the government and the opposition have told their supporters to come here. That's 2 competing rallies and plenty of scope for trouble. And now it looks like it could be starting. Riot police have come out onto the streets of Belgrade to keep the rival demonstrators apart. The mood among the opposition supporters is defiant. The results haven't been released yet, but already they can smell victory. Whether President Milosevic would accept this outcome is another question. Jackie Rowland, BBC News, Belgrade.
Here, a 5-year-old boy has drowned after falling into the sea off the coast of County Durham. The boy fell from Seaham Pier on the East Durham coast shortly after 4 o'clock this afternoon. He was pulled from the water and flown to Sunderland General Hospital, but attempts to resuscitate him failed. British Aerospace is to create 1,700 jobs in North Wales. BAE Systems will expand its factory at Broughton in Flintshire with the help of a £19.5 million grant from the Welsh Assembly. It's hoped to build the wings for the new A3XX Airbus there. The factory currently employs 3,000 workers. Britain's Denise Lewis can claim to be the best all-round female athlete in the world after winning the heptathlon gold medal at the Sydney Olympics. She becomes only the 6th British woman to win an Olympic track and field gold.
It was make or break day for Denise Lewis. The first 4 of the 7 disciplines had put her only in the bronze medal spot, but the climb to the top of the heptathlon began with the long jump. In second place after 3 jumps, she was first after the javelin, which looked like deciding the gold medal.
It's good, it's a good throw once again.
But in a night of extraordinary tension, a rumour swept through the stadium that Lewis had injured her foot and might even pull out before the final 800 metres. It wasn't true, but she had to battle desperately to ensure the gap between her and her closest rivals wouldn't edge her out of the gold medal. After the finish came the agonising wait while the numbers were crunched, with Lewis ahead by just 53 points.
Denise Lewis is the Olympic champion. She's got it.
To the delight of thousands of British supporters, Denise Lewis crowned the night of her life with a lap of honour around Sydney's Olympic Stadium.
I just don't know what to say. It's been a battlefield for me out there. Every event was really uphill. So I'm really thankful and honoured that I made it through as champion. That's all I can say.
One woman knew exactly how she felt. 28 years ago in Munich, Mary Peters went through the same wait with the same glorious outcome, and she was in Sydney to share Denise Lewis's achievement.
I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm still shaking all over with emotion. Denise, we're all proud of you. I was with all the Union Jacks on the far side, and they raised my performance 28 years ago, and I know you were born a week after I won my gold medal, and now it's your turn tonight, and I'm really, really happy that I was here to share the joy with you.
Denise Lewis becomes the 6th British woman to win the ultimate accolade of Olympic champion, but she's the first to light up the Olympics with a smile as wide as the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Denise Lewis's triumph rounded off another golden day for Britain at these games. Cycling, shooting, rowing and now athletics have all struck gold for Team Great Britain. Neil Bennett, BBC News, at the Olympic Stadium in Sydney.
On an excellent day for Britain, the rowing team also took 2 more medals. Following Steve Redgrave's historic success yesterday, the men's 8 won Britain's first gold in their event since 1912 with a comprehensive victory. There was also a silver medal for the women's quadruple sculls following a photo finish in their race. It's the first time a British women's team has ever won an Olympic rowing medal. Britain has already matched the total of 15 medals achieved in Atlanta 4 years ago, with a week of competition in Sydney still to go. The current tally is 5 golds, 7 silvers and 3 bronze. Now football, and Leicester City missed the opportunity to go top of the Premiership by drawing 1-1 at home to Everton this afternoon. Leicester needed a victory to overtake Manchester United and took a first-half lead with a goal from Adi Akinbayi. But Everton equalised when Paul Gascoigne's cross was turned into the net by David Unsworth. In the Scottish Premier League, Kilmarnock won 2-0 away to Heart of Midlothian. Paul Wright scored the opening goal of their 4th victory in 5 matches. The result lifts Kilmarnock into 4th place in the table, 8 points behind the leaders Celtic. Germany's Michael Schumacher has retaken the lead in Formula One's World Championship after victory in the United States Grand Prix this evening. The Ferrari driver is now 8 points clear of the reigning champion Mika Hakkinen, who didn't finish the race. David Coulthard was 5th.
It appeared to be a good start for Coulthard, who from 2nd on the grid went straight past Michael Schumacher's red Ferrari to head towards the first bend in the lead. But he'd jumped the gun by starting to move too soon. The 10-second penalty he'd have to serve later, though, proved academic, because before long Schumacher had made up the ground and overtaken him in a move which thrilled the crowd watching Formula One at Indianapolis for the first time ever. The German quickly built up a substantial lead, but Hakkinen, who changed to slick tyres earlier than most, began to catch up, until disaster struck, flames bursting from the engine compartment and bringing an abrupt end to his race. A lapse in concentration nearly finished Schumacher's race, but he was so far ahead that the time lost wasn't crucial. He crossed the line well in front to put himself back in the lead of the Drivers' Championship with only 2 races left in the season. Steve McCormack, BBC News.
And tonight's main news again. Tony Blair's called on the Labour Party to keep its nerve as the start of its conference coincides with a slump in the polls. That's the latest. There'll be news throughout the night over on BBC News 24. But from us, good night.
Good evening. Well, what a difference a day made over the weekend. Sunny Saturday, followed by a bit of a soaking on Sunday. And just take a look at how bright the echoes have been on the radar. Some very heavy rain, a band of it working its way northeastwards, and a lot of sharp showers coming in from the southwest behind that rain band. In fact, the Environment Agency have got some flood watches out for northern England, particularly West and South Yorkshire, along with North Derbyshire and Cumbria. If you need the details, then phone their floodline number. Now, one of the wettest parts of the country today has been Cumbria. 23 millimetres, that's not far short of an inch of rain. But I think we are going to see the heaviest of the rain moving out of northern England overnight. I mentioned those showers earlier. You can see some pretty bright colours around the Bristol area during the evening. In fact, some nasty thunderstorms gave 14 millimetres of rain, about ½ an inch of rain in just over an hour there. So still some wet weather to come, particularly in Scotland throughout the night, but that rain over northern England, Wales, the Midlands and the southwest of England, that's only going to last for the next few hours. Temperatures dipping down to around 8 or 9, and with all that dampness around, probably quite a bit of mist and fog for the start of the day up through central areas. That'll clear out of the way, probably staying cloudy all day in Shetland, more drizzly rain there, and we've also got some more rain moving in from the southwest. Not particularly heavy across England and Wales, the heaviest rain turning up in Northern Ireland late in the day. So top temperatures in the southeast around 20 degrees. That's the forecast.